I'm everyone and no one. Everywhere, nowhere. Call me Darkman.
Welcome to Now Playing Podcast's Darkman Retrospective Series.
Now crime has a new enemy, and justice has a brand new face.
Hosted by Justin.
You handsome devil.
Arnie.
He's a freak, ladies and gentlemen. He's a freak.
And Stuart.
Be careful, he bites.
But be warned, this episode will contain detailed plot spoilers and strong language.
I think we've all learned a valuable safety tip here.
We hope you enjoy the show.
No more Mr. Nice Guy.
Today we're discussing Darkman 2, The Return of Durant. 'Cause that's what everyone was calling for, The Return of Durant. That's what we needed. Starring Larry Drake. Top billed Larry Drake.
Good for Larry.
Kim Delaney, Renee O'Connor, Lawrence Dane, and Arnold Vosloo as Darkman, directed by Bradford May. This is the now playing co-host who sometimes plays rough, Arnie.
And Stuart.
He's coming back. This is Justin.
You joke, but the thing about Darkman is he has no face anymore. You don't need Liam Neeson to come back. You can have Bruce Campbell, for example, taking it over. I thought that might be the way to go. I thought that's what the sequel was telling us, and Bruce Campbell did have some syndicated TV show in the 90s. I feel like he would do straight to tape, and probably has many times. But yeah, this is not the sequel I necessarily expected to get.
Darkman is the franchise that refused to die. Let's kind of follow its trajectory.
Really? I think it died pretty heavy in 1996. I think it's done.
Nope.
Uh-oh.
Well, in 1991, after the movie, came the video game for Nintendo. Based on the movie, theoretically, I broke out this game and tried to play it. It is unplayably hard, and they did not get the Elfman score.
That's what I suspected.
I couldn't believe how difficult it was. Darkman may be a great scientist, but he's a terrible fighter as you try to kick and punch at a couple of goons. And literally, I started the game, and I didn't know in the game, because I didn't have the manual, he can crawl up walls like Spider-Man. And so I start on this platform, and I run to the right and fall and die, okay? So I run to the left and fall and die. Like, okay. So I jump and die. And I'm like, all right, I do not understand what I'm supposed to be doing. Oh, I can jump and cling to a wall like I'm Spider-Man and crawl up a wall only to then fall off a rope and die? I died a lot in about 10 minutes before I said, fuck this game.
So you never got the dangle from a helicopter or anything fun like that?
No, I watched it online. I'll tell you what I saw that was cute. It's mostly a platformer that felt like it was ripping off the really cool Batman Nintendo game. If you remember Batman on Nintendo 8-bit, That was a great game. And it felt like it was trying for that kind of gameplay. But in between levels, there was a fun mini game where you as Darkman are hiding to take photos of criminals. And so the whole thing is in POV of the camera lens as you take photos of the criminals so you can craft masks to be them, and they're shooting at you while you're taking pictures. And that was a little bit fun.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. My experience has been when the movies are small and they kind of like go back and think, oh, I guess there is a market for this. The games tend to be rushed and not well programmed. And yes, difficult to control. And that Toxic Crusaders game is just the perfect example of something that shouldn't have been made. It shouldn't have been released, at least. You develop these things and sometimes they just don't work, but they nevertheless find their ways into the hands of consumers. And it's too bad.
Yeah, this was made by the same people, though, who did make the Batman game and made the Addams Family game and the Hudson Hawk game and the RoboCop games. I mean, Short Circuit, they had their brands.
I had no Short Circuit had a game, but my guess is that they probably used a lot of the same programming. Like the levels probably are very similar, Darkman and Batman.
Just reskinned avatars.
Yes, perfect thing to do.
And then they decided, You know what we should do is make Darkman the TV show.
Not a bad instinct. It's got the story engine. Every week I'm creating a new face to infiltrate a new place and solve a crime. That's totally the kind of story engine I'd expect for a 90s show.
Larry Drake talked about this on the bonus features of Darkman, that in 1992, he was hired to reprise the role of Durant, not for a pilot, because that's not what they made. What they made was like a style presentation that had weird voiceover, but didn't have a story necessarily to it. They got British actor Christopher Bowen to be Darkman. I looked him up and he was a military guy in Tomorrow Never Dies a few years after this. And that's his biggest credit. He did a few episodes of Doctor Who.
Yeah, Brit. Someone with a good speaking voice. That's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear him more than you're going to see him. He's doing it all under bandages.
But he had a British accent for all of it, which confused me. So you had basically a retelling of the origin film with a lot of footage from that first film. I mean, it retells the discovering of the synthetic skin, the attack. Like I said in the last podcast, in this one, Durant wanted Westlake's skin formula. That's why Durant attacked him. And so we get Larry Drake where's the formula? Instead of, where's the memorandum? And so they kind of got that together. They have Darkman talking to a inner city kid doing graffiti and all kinds of stuff.
That's Fool. That's Fool from People Under the Stairs.
Same actor? I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah, totally Fool. Yeah, it's out there on YouTube if you want to watch it. I watched it too and got confused. Thank you for clarifying, because it does feel like someone going, this is what a show could feel like. There was so much repurposed footage from the movie that you would have no confidence that they could do it on the budget they were given week after week.
So it was like a show mood board instead of a pilot.
Yes, exactly.
Here's the reporter character. Here's his little kid friend that makes graffiti and is sassy. And yeah, they just kind of give you the idea of who the characters would be and what it would be like week after week. You know what? I don't really watch those kinds of shows, but it wouldn't have been the worst one out in the 90s.
No, it wouldn't. I actually enjoyed the Crow syndicated show that came out in the 90s. I've enjoyed some of these shows. The later in the 90s it got, the better. But you know what? People love Hercules and Xena. And so if the same TV production company did a Darkman show, I imagine it would have had fans.
Yeah, it could have happened, but I can also see why they just went, nah. And there's nothing about this pilot that will make you think that you've lost something great.
Maybe if your main character had lips, we would have a little wiggle room. But
Then in 1993, Marvel Comics made a character that I always thought originated in comics and made him a comic book series. They had adapted the original Darkman movie into both black and white and a color comic in 1990. They decided to do a 6-issue miniseries of Darkman and following up on the story. I didn't read the whole thing because honestly, I found the art to be really ugly. They brought back Julie, and I know they probably couldn't use likenesses of actors and actresses, so they had to make them look something different. But it barely looked human. I mean, it was really disproportionate. The art was really, really bad. But I did skim through the issues. A lot of it focused on Belisarius. Remember, it was the Belisarius Memorandum. Well, who is Belisarius? He's another crime boss. And you guys remember Eddie Black from the start of the first movie, who we thought Durant killed. It turns out Durant just cut off all 10 of his fingers, but much like the guy with the one leg and his fake leg was a machine gun, Eddie got his fingers replaced with pistols, so now he has guns for hands.
Sounds very comic book.
he saw a good idea and ran with it, you know?
Yeah.
And then the twist is around issue 5, Durant is still alive. He's been brought back with the help of robotics. It's kind of Reanimator. He has spider legs on his head, so his head can walk around separate from his body, or it can reattach when he wants it to and put it back on, and the legs kind of tuck up under. So they did already have the Return of Durant in comics.
I mean, again, this is what you can do in a comic book that you can't do in a weekly TV series, or probably even in, I don't know, did anyone consider doing an actual movie? Or was that just not on the table?
Not on the table, because in 1994 came the book series.
Oh, okay.
These were written by Randall Boyle. I don't know this guy by name, but he wrote the Darkman novelization, and from that got to write 4 original Darkman tales.
This is back in the time when people still went to bookstores, so I guess you could make books.
When I looked up who Randall Boyle was, he's written a whole lot of books, most of which seem to be novelizations, including the novelization of Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight, and the novelization of The Long Kiss Goodnight, and the first Mission Impossible film, and Shocker. So I've actually read this man's writing before with the novelization of Shocker.
Yeah, it was a viable way to market, just like soundtracks. You know, you'd get some bands that had very little to do with the premise of your movie, but collect their songs and put it out there. And a movie like Sliver is better known for its songs than its story. Yeah, it makes sense that they would try to mass market Darkman if he were coming back to theaters. Maybe that was the plan. I don't know. Arnie, how good were these adventures? I assume you read the books.
I read the first book. It was a slow go. First of all, I had to get these off of eBay. They are not available digitally anywhere. Nobody has archived the works of Randall Boyle. I also couldn't find The Long Kiss Goodnight or Demon Knight electronically. So I had to get some torn up eBay books that were, according to the writing on the inside cover, formerly the property of Kevin Davis, who probably bought these in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I was anxious to read all 4, and then I read the first one, and that was enough.
Can we blurb that, by the way? I was anxious to read all 4, but 1 was enough.
The titles were The Hangman, The Prince of Fear, The Gods of Hell, and The Face of Death. And the best thing about these books is they have really old style pulp cover type art. I dug the cover art. So I literally was judging a book by its cover when I'm like, ooh, I'm excited to read this.
Yeah, it looks like the poster from the actual first movie.
It is lacking all of the charm and the character that made the first Darkman film great. It is like a year after the first film, and it tells the tale more of a little boy who's an orphan because his father kills himself and his mother's dead, and he falls in with a gang who live in a mansion and pickpocket people during the day. All I could think about with this gang was it reminded me of the gang from the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
The Foot?
Yeah, The Foot, but specifically from the movie, not like from the comics or the Turtles or anything.
Yeah.
But instead of answering to Shredder, they answered to this guy named Ice, who in my mental image looks like Candyman with a silver tooth. And so it follows this little boy, 7 years old, as he falls in with this gang and then gets in trouble with this gang. And there's interludes with Darkman, who's in his soap factory and going, the skin thing isn't working out. I've been trying it for years. I should give up on it and become a superhero. This town needs a hero.
See, that was going to be my question is do they do any development with the character? Because I assume in a novelization, they have to leave him where he was at the end of the last movie for the audiences, right? They can't have him discover something. They can't have him have a fresh face of skin that worked all of a sudden. He has to be exactly where he was before.
Pretty much. I mean, these are, as I understand it, an arcing storyline of continuity since they were all by the same author, but this is him deciding he wants to be a force of justice and use his Darkman faces and super strength to stop crime and rescue this little boy who got attacked right outside the warehouse where Darkman is living. But there was so little use of facial disguises. In fact, Darkman spends most of the book in his soap factory and then just trying to investigate who the little boy was and where he's gone. And I'm like, this is not really a Darkman story. This is a story that has Darkman in it. And once Darkman starts referring to himself mentally as Captain America or the Silver Surfer, I'm out. I'm just like, this is not my Darkman.
Yeah, not very dark.
No. And there was just far too little face changing going on, a little bit at the end. And it was honestly very poorly written. And it was supposed to have a gotcha reveal at the end, like the first movie of, oh my God, that's the big bad guy? Except it's so obvious while reading it that it's this guy that I was like 20 chapters ahead of the book.
I'm surprised they didn't do more face changes. I mean, they don't have to pay for the special effects. They're just writing about it.
Mm-hmm.
Were you into any of this in the 90s? I mean, now we're looking back, God, so many years later, but did you care? I mean, I liked Darkman, but my response to that was, what's Sam Raimi going to do next? Not, I want to read a book.
I, despite hanging out in the media tie-in section of Barnes & Noble those years, if I was aware, if I glanced and went, oh, there's Darkman novels next to the Aliens novels and the X-Files novels, I just glossed over it and moved on with my life. I didn't know there was a Nintendo game. I collected comics off and on in 93, but if I noticed a Darkman comic, I didn't pay attention to it. I was blissfully unaware of anything going on with Darkman. I don't even think I knew, despite reading media magazines and movie magazines, I don't even think I knew Darkman 2 was coming until I went to the video store in July of 95 and went, there's Darkman 2! Now! I must watch it now!
Although by this point, the scam was out there. People knew that they made things that only appeared in boxes in stores, and you didn't typically want to watch them. You felt tricked when you brought that home and popped it in and was like, oh, they didn't really make a movie. They made this.
Yeah, 95, everybody's aware of direct-to-video nonsense.
I think you guys are misremembering a little. This is the first direct-to-video live-action film ever done by Universal Pictures.
Okay, Universal. But the game may have been putting out straight-to-tape stuff for a decade.
They had, and a lot of it was stuff from international that American distributors like Troma were getting and just putting out with box covers. But as far as franchise continuations and things, it was still fairly new. It wasn't unheard of. I mean, The Howling went there in the 80s and some of those other franchises. Silent Night, Deadly Night, we covered all of those, and those had direct-to-video sequels in the 80s. But this was a start for Universal, who did not want to make this movie. This movie was done against their will at the behest of a company I never thought I'd applaud for doing anything. Blockbuster Video. That mega corporation I considered the death of artistic integrity. Everybody was going to Blockbuster, but Blockbuster required censorship. The reason why I never saw The Right Reanimator until it came out on DVD, and then I'm like, wait, this isn't the movie I watched as a kid, is because I rented it at Blockbuster, which would not carry unrated movies, would not carry anything it didn't agree with content-wise, and required edits to films and special versions of films to go to Blockbuster. So I hated Blockbuster, but Blockbuster loved Darkman and said Darkman rented really well. It was a modest hit in theaters, but a big hit for Blockbuster, and Blockbuster strong-armed Universal to do more Darkman movies.
But they didn't do more Darkman movies. They made straight-to-tape movies, and that's just setting expectations way lower. Even if you end up liking them, they're not the same experience as a theatrical film. I can think of none that equal what you do, with the exception of Prey, which went straight to Hulu. Usually, when it's dumped, there's a reason.
I still say streaming has a different scent to it than direct-to-video, because the theatrical model is crumbling, and you have David Fincher and Martin Scorsese making things for streaming. So I don't think direct-to-streaming is exactly the same as direct-to-video was. But I will agree with you that when I saw sequels direct-to-video, like Starship Troopers 2 and Hollow Man 2 and things like that, my expectations were lowered. Like, when I saw Darkman 2, I was like, okay, they obviously didn't get back Liam Neeson, but they got somebody else. I'm okay with the recast, as long as we get more Darkman. And honestly, even in 1995, I was like, as a 20-year-old, I'm like, I don't know that Larry Drake is who I really was hoping to return, but okay, let's see what this Darkman has. I took him home that night.
I think you're underselling the appeal. That Durant character should have been the big bad, right? He was a henchman, but he ended up being way more interesting than the entrepreneur guy at the end. And so to have him return is an opportunity for Larry Drake to spread his wings and do a little bit more. And he had, God bless him, been given a horror. I don't think it ended up being a franchise, but they kind of wanted it to be. He was Dr. Giggles. Did they make another one? I only saw one of them. They made 2 dentist movies with Corbin Burnson, but I don't think they made another Dr. Giggles.
No, they only did one, but I did not know this. Dr. Giggles is based on a comic book, so add that to our comic book retrospective.
Oh, yeah. When we do Dark Horse, yeah, it's included.
But, yeah, he did a lot of stuff. The only thing I really saw him in again after Darkman 2 was the LA Law Reunion movie, and he played the dad of one of the characters in American Pie 2, and I thought that was really random that Larry Drake showed up as somebody's dad in an American Pie series. But
yeah, I think it would be okay if he's the only one coming back. At least I liked him, right? If the entrepreneur came back, I'd be like, big whoop. Larry Drake cutting off fingers again is a reason to at least be hopeful that we'll have some fun.
Yeah, he's got the most recognizable face out of that cast, too, if you're getting rid of Liam Neeson and Frances McDormand. He's the one whose face you're going to recognize on the box if they want to do that.
And the studio agreed with you, because this is the second direct-to-video movie they filmed. Larry Drake was busy. I don't know if he was making Dr. Giggles or LA Law, but Larry Drake was unavailable for the shooting schedule they wanted. So despite this being released as Darkman 2, the movie that we will be covering as Darkman 3, Die Darkman Die, was filmed before this, with the same director, same writer, same crew, and they just filmed these back to back, but got Larry Drake when Larry Drake was available.
And it's, of course, should probably go without saying, but Sam Raimi is not here in the director's chair. They got some guy that does TV movies, who, if you want to watch a TV movie about the Long Island Lolita, Amy Fisher, he made it. But, I mean, again, he made, like, cheesy, trashy. They made a movie about Madonna's early days. I remember watching it, and she literally eats food out of a dumpster or something like that. It's real, just trashy exploitation movies for TV that don't have any real weight or substance or even support from the people that they're chronicling.
Now, mostly he was a TV director and a cinematographer. He, on the commentary that was released with the Shout Factory Blu-ray, talked about how he got his start doing film for television and got moved up to directing TV episodes very quickly.
Is that a promotion? I used to make TV movies and now I make TV episodes. The point is that, yes, he's small time, he's not a visionary, and I miss Sam Raimi already.
Well, Raimi was an involved producer. Larry Drake talked about seeing Sam Raimi on set and talking to Sam Raimi. Just to spoil it, Durant dies in this, and Raimi told Larry Drake at the premiere, "We're going to get you back for a third episode." And Larry Drake's like, "Sam, you blew me up twice." And Sam Raimi was like, "That doesn't matter." And so there were plans for, yes, and scripts for even more than what we're going to be reviewing. And Sam Raimi was getting into producer mode then. He was doing stuff theatrically that didn't feel like Sam Raimi movies. I know, Stuart, you used to love, and I think you called it as your favorite Raimi movie to me at one point, A Simple Plan.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
But it doesn't feel like Raimi. And I don't think For the Love of the Game feel like Raimi.
If you watch Quick and the Dead, the Blammo cam where they're shooting a camera off a gun, it has his visual flair. Now, you may not appreciate the genres he's working in. That's different. But it definitely exemplifies his style.
Okay, but For the Love of the Game felt definitely phoned in. It felt like he'd lost his spirit.
Okay, this is coming much later. I think he made that at the end of Kevin Costner's baseball career.
But he was really excelling during that time with television shows like Mantis and Xena and Hercules and that sort of thing.
I mean, if you're going to call that the success, you're only talking about financial. I couldn't watch those things. I tried. I just, no thank you. And I like Ray Harryhausen, trashy, like Greek myth kind of stuff every now and then, but I just couldn't do those. Could not do those.
Yeah, and I can appreciate low-budget TV. I mean, I'm a fan of Sid and Marty Krofft, after all.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I could do it, but not those. There's something wrong with them.
I thought it was okay. I never got into it. I know there were a lot more fans, honestly, of Xena than there ever were of Hercules. Like, the Xena fans seemed really into Xena, whereas there were Hercules fans that were like, okay. I know people still like Lucy Lawless a lot more than they like Kevin Sorbo, but...
They had a cult following after a while there, but like when it was presented, I think they were presenting those shows kind of earnestly, and they kind of found like late night TV comedy with the college crowd after a while.
Yeah. And so they're making Darkman into something like that. And that's disappointing, and that Sam Raimi's kind of producing it, and it's slockier, cheaper. Darkman did not need to be made with less money. That's really going to hurt.
It is, and I came in with that expectation, this is going to be lesser. That said, when I saw Darkman in 1995, I had no idea who our new leading Darkman was, Arnold Vosloo. Now, I know Arnold Vosloo. I've seen the Mummy movies. I've seen the G.I. Joe films.
Yeah.
I'm actually excited to see early Arnold Vosloo because, well, listen, we'll discuss the Mummy when that fourth film comes. I'm not going to say he's a great actor, but I think he's great in the Mummy films, and I thought he was a little fun in G.I. Joe as Zartan.
Yeah, he carved out a little niche there, right? Like he's the guy who changes faces in a couple different properties here, so good for Vosloo.
I have no idea who this is. I've seen none of the movies you're talking about, and all I can say is it's all right. You told me that the character changes faces. Darkman is a man whose face is hidden behind bandages, so it doesn't really matter who plays him. I'm cool with the recast. I didn't think Liam Neeson was that good, quite frankly.
And apparently, Bruce Campbell had better things to do, despite this being the idea that Bruce Campbell would pick this up. I guess Congo and The Demolitionist just paid better than direct-to-video Darkman sequels.
Okay, so you've really set this up to be a winner. You remember watching it in the 90s? You rented it?
Yeah, I rented both of these, like, the week they came out each.
Oh, wow. And you liked them?
I remember not hating them, but definitely knowing they were lesser then.
Mm-hmm.
I had fun that Darkman was back, but that was about the fun I remembered. I never watched him again. I watched Darkman 1 again, and I remember in the early days of DVD going like, but what about Darkman 2 and 3 when I bought my Darkman DVD? Little did I know they would shovel everything out eventually, just about. I mean, I'm still looking for a good copy of Kafka, but other than that, everything's hit DVD.
Well, why don't we find out what delights are here and what happens when Durant returns? Arnie, give him the plot of Darkman 2.
Peyton Westlake, now played by Arnold Vosloo, is still living in the shadows and trying to perfect his synthetic skin. He reads about another scientist, David Brinkman, played by Jesse Collins, who has nearly perfected synthetic skin, and imagine the luck, Brinkman lives and works in the same town where Darkman is. Westlake puts on a mask and meets Brinkman. The two form a partnership to try to perfect the skin. But there's one problem. Brinkman's lab is a factory that is wanted by Robert G. Durant. Yes, Durant, again played by Larry Drake, is alive after his helicopter crash. He was in a coma for a little under 3 years, but he's back and wants his crime syndicate to return to glory, and to do that, he plans on selling laser guns to white supremacists. But to do that, he needs a factory with high power capabilities. He needs Brinkman's factory. When Brinkman refuses to sell his property for $1 million, Durant has him killed. And when Westlake finds Brinkman's body with a finger missing, he knows Durant has returned. And Durant is still trying to get the property, now buying it from Brinkman's estranged stripper sister Lori, played by Renee O'Connor. To find Durant, Westlake contacts TV reporter Jill Randall, played by NYPD Blue's Kim Delaney. Jill realizes Westlake's true identity, but agrees to work with him so she can get a big story. She puts out news about Durant, so Durant has her killed with a car bomb. Westlake uses his masks to again imitate Durant's gang members and kills Durant's goons, as well as laser gun designer Alfred Hathaway, played by Lawrence Dane. Durant tries to escape, but Westlake has put a car bomb on Durant's vehicle, and he's blown up, presumably dead for good this time, and Westlake again goes off into the night, and a sequel with Jeff Fahey as credits roll.
As we get started, this opening montage, they're basically trying to catch you up on what happened in the first movie while inserting Vosloo in moments where we would normally have seen Neeson.
Sometimes we still catch Neeson's face in this flashback.
I was wondering about that because most of the shots are clearly Vosloo. When they put him in the red water, it's Vosloo. And when they have him recovering, it's Vosloo. But there's one shot of him being taken to the electrodes that burn his hand. And I'm like, that really looks like Ted Raimi is carrying him again. Now, admittedly, it probably wouldn't be hard to get Ted Raimi for 5 minutes to do a pickup shot for Darkman 2, given that Sam is producing this whole thing. But I did wonder if that was a shot of Ted Raimi from the original that was put in here, and if I freeze framed it, which I didn't, would I see Liam Neeson?
We all know this is a lower budget going into this, and I appreciate what they're doing here. They're catching you up, and they're saying, hey, this is our new guy. This guy can change faces, so don't get too caught up in this. And they give us that scene again in a truncated way, so it feels like it's in that same universe. I appreciate the effort of what they're doing here with this opening.
Yeah, I don't think they even needed to do it. He could just look like Vosloo now, right? And they could show Liam Neeson, and now he chooses to live this way. They're going to totally excise things. It feels a lot like that TV promo pilot thing. Actually, of like, we're just kind of setting it up so the expectations are, this is the budget, these are the new characters, and live with it. You know, no Frances McDormand, no lawyer girlfriend. We cut all that stuff out. It didn't really work in the first movie anyway, so I'm not missing it. I'm accepting what they're telling me, even though it's not visually exciting like Sam Raimi movies are.
I agree on both fronts. I'll tell you the one thing that bothers me, I get past it, but it bothers me, is Vosloo has a South African accent that he cannot shake. And I'm just like, you know, I felt this way about the TV pilot. Peyton Westlake was not British, and Peyton Westlake was not South African. He did not talk like this. I know Liam Neeson has a little bit of an accent, but he kind of hides it pretty well under that gruff voice he uses. And here, Vosloo, I'm rolling with it, but it feels like if you couldn't get a better actor, couldn't you have gotten one without an accent? Like, you got a bad actor with an accent.
I mean, I think British accents, you know, we love their accent, right? Like, if you listen to books on tape, a lot of British actors, that's their gig, right? Like, they're great storytellers. They've got the great voice. If you've got a character that's largely defined by their voice, let them have a British or, I guess, South African accent. I think that's a choice that I'm fine with.
Yeah, and Arnie, you said you learned to go with it, which is great, because it really didn't bother me. Because like you said, Neeson, I couldn't tell half the time in that first movie if he was trying to cover up the fact that he was Scottish and trying to do an American accent. Sometimes it slipped out. It was inconsistent originally, so I'm okay with it being different here.
I'm more curious about how you are. They show in this montage, chopper crashing into bridge. They're not hiding the fact that Durant should have died. So what do you make of it when in the next scene, goons that we've never seen before are running into what looks like a mall courtyard with a light-up dance floor? And there's Larry Drake laying there without a burn on him, but he's been in a coma.
You want to know what surprised me with all of this tie-in media? When I think of the sequels, oftentimes you just get more of what you had, right? With Alien, you got Aliens. With RoboCop, you got RoboCop 2, which was literally RoboCop version 2.0 fighting RoboCop version 1.0. I am shocked that in no point did they not have evil Darkman. like have somebody who had the same adrenaline rushes and things, but maybe didn't get burned, but had the same spinal surgery as Peyton Westlake. So they had the strength and all the benefits of being Darkman, and maybe even had masks, but didn't need masks, and had the one thing Westlake wanted. So if you have Durant dying in an explosion, why don't you have him be evil Darkman who wants to go after Westlake to get new skin so he can look like Larry Drake again?
Or someone else, maybe, even. Yes. I had the thought as well. I was like, yeah, his body should be burned, and now he should be really invested in synthetic skin. And wouldn't that be something that you could play off of? Two people that are changing their looks. I think if they had more of a budget, you could do that kind of thing. This movie is incredibly hampered by its financial restrictions. Even when they try to recreate scenes like that delightful one where, lookalikes are staring at each other in a revolving door, it's pathetic here.
I said last week, I hope this movie has a good reason and explanation for how Drake survives this helicopter crash, and I'm here to tell you, sadly, they do not. They have no explanation. He's been in a coma and he's coming back, so deal with it.
Yeah, roll out, right? It's what you have to go with on this one. I wish that there was more. They gave him like one facial scar. I don't know how you get out of that helicopter crash with one facial scar and apparently random migraines that happen only at the beginning of the movie.
They establish he pops pills for pain, and that will become important later. But yeah, all right. I said I wanted Durant. It's the only thing coming back from the first movie. I will accept it any way that it comes. This is the mulligan that we will choose to give. But I will just say Larry Drake's not as much fun. Throughout the movie, I keep waiting for him to have the lines, to cut off the fingers, to really spread his wings and show why he could be the bad that holds the whole movie together. And aside from one scene where he's golfing on top of the roof and practicing his swing and shattering glass, I don't think that there's a lot of camp fun for him here.
No, it shows the limits of Larry Drake. I mean, I'm surprised I have to say that because I know he has 2 Emmys, and so he did really well as Benny, okay? But that doesn't make him a great actor in all roles, and it shows how a good director can manage to get a performance out of somebody who may not be an actor. Stuart has taught me through the years on this show that a director really matters for getting a performance out of a child. I think a director also really matters for getting a performance maybe out of a character actor or somebody who just isn't as great at the craft. But no, this isn't written as clever. The lines aren't there. There's barely any finger cutting in this. It's not the same criminal. It's not the same plot. It's not the same performance. What you wanted back was Robert G. Durant, not Larry Drake. And unfortunately, what we got was Larry Drake.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And sad. Again, that was my biggest hope for this film, was that he would finally get to really own the movie. He was the star in my mind. It didn't matter who Darkman was going to be. This was the thing. Jack Nicholson, Joker, that was the comparison. Well, if this is the star, we're in trouble. And he's woken up to find out that crime is different now. The streets he used to control now have random people driving around throwing grenades and buying weapons or something. It's caused quite a problem for him and his crime syndicate.
I watched this movie twice, and I cannot tell you why there is a car chase with 2 people machine gunning at each other and then ending up with a briefcase of cocaine and money. Nor can I tell you why Darkman suddenly has Superman's super hearing to hear a woman scream for help, and he's on a rooftop blocks away and like whips his head around like, a woman in danger?
Yeah, this scene, confusing as it is, I mean, it looked like 2 identical cars chasing each other, so I couldn't tell who was in which car or what was going on. Honestly, I can only think that this is here just so we can see how Darkman is making money, because the resolution of this scene is he catches the final bad guy with a briefcase. As the cops are showing up, he opens the briefcase, throws the drugs at the guy, and takes off with the cash.
Well, finally, he's got new digs. He's not at the warehouse anymore. He's like in the subway system. He's got a little train car that he takes and heads down into a new lab. And yes, that's how he keeps the lights on.
I thought that train was actually clever. It's honestly my favorite thing about this movie is the entire, like, he's in a subway and has a special little train car that he can use to get around town quickly, and it's sped up footage, but it's a decent set for this film. It's a cool concept, and it's honestly a better dark layer than what he had in the first film.
It's fine. I can't get too excited one way or the other. It works as well. It's the same kind of thing. We see him doing similar things, feeding in photos, creating masks. They're not lasting more than 99 minutes. He's not in any different shape now than he was in the last movie. But yes, he is taking out criminals with his rage strength. He can throw manholes and such. And so he has no problem being rich and raising money. And this is also a way to introduce, well, it's a fool. I think we're seeing the female lead, Kim Delaney, stepping in here, but she ends up having a smaller role than you might think. She's the tough-talking reporter for Street Copy, who keeps wanting to cover serious journalism about drugs and crime when her overbearing boss is telling her, talk about fake orgasms. Do the sensational hard copy stuff.
I mean, this plays as like a TMZ or like those 90s hard copy type of salacious shows that were popular. Yeah.
Current Affair, yeah. There was a lot of that, where journalism got real trashy. This is where she's operating, but we're meant to understand she's trying for something more important. She's trying to be Connie Chung in a world where they want her doing trash television.
This is somebody who was brought in because this director worked with her on Tour of Duty, the 80s Vietnam show that wasn't China Beach.
Yeah, the less successful one. I remember it.
And yeah, she will go on, like Larry Drake, to be an Emmy Award-winning actress on NYPD Blue. But here, you would never know that. And she's just given an unfortunate part because it's not fleshed out enough. She is here to become the woman who will die to get Darkman mad after he's calmed down off the first person Durant kills.
I think she's Vicky Vale, but she's really not even that important.
No, not even.
But yes, there are Batman comparisons to make, and Durant is sort of Joker-like in that he's come back from the dead and unhappy that the business has languished. He's got a plan to build better guns. Rather than try to corral the guns that are out on the street, we need to create a market by making weapons ourselves, and that means busting out, well, you tell me, is it Hannibal Lecter or Doc Brown?
I understand the confusion because when you see him in that cell, it really does look like a Hannibal Lecter cell with the plexiglass, and he appears to go into a rage because he doesn't like meatloaf. So, okay.
He wants the liver and the Chianti. You know, yeah, they're definitely making it like a Lecter thing, which would have been fresh on people's minds.
Yeah, but no, he's a mad scientist who probably could have been in a minimum security prison. He's just writing formulas on walls. He's not making fellow inmates choke to death on their own tongues.
Yeah, he's definitely got a Christopher Lloyd crazy white hair, or he'll scream about gigawatts and, you know, all of this. He's going to develop a laser gun that is powered by, like, giant cables, and he's worried about the power. I thought they used the word abandoned electric company, so it's really weird to me when goons go there and there's a scientist already working.
Well, it is technically abandoned, but it's a factory that has high electricity. It's not an electric plant. It's a factory with high electric capabilities. And what we're going to hear is the sob story of the scientist who's working there. His dad died, and his dad had built this place to run a factory in. But I think he really died the day he had to close the factory. And now the son has moved in to do his skin research in his dad's old factory instead of selling it.
You know, another freelance scientist doing his work in a loft space.
Yep. No, I love it. And more pre-internet fun. Darkman finds out about him because he's got a mailbox and he still gets science journalism in print, and then like goes to the homeless encampment and reads through all the journals to get the good articles and goes, oh, let me go find this Brinkman guy. Just as the goons are leaning on him to give up the warehouse, he's showing up saying, hey, you work on synthetic skin? I work on synthetic skin. Let's collab.
So much convenience going on in this plot, right? Everything is lining up. One thing that's bothering me at this point that probably shouldn't, but it's been a few years at this point. Why is he still wearing the old crusty bandages? I know that's his look when he's Darkman, but he could have come up with something better than these old, gross, bloody bandages to wear around town.
I was thinking about that, Justin, because you say bloody bandages, and I'm thinking about that. I'm like, how does he not get constant infection off of all of that exposed skin? I would almost think, I'd agree, bandages are the way to go if he needs to put like ointment or antiseptic or something on there to avoid the infection. Also, he seems to have unlimited money because he's stealing from all these goons. Why not just always wear a mask? Why would he ever not wear a mask?
Yeah, he could keep a mask in the dark in a suitcase with him and just keep pulling it out, wearing this, just, going to the bathroom every 99 minutes. Yeah. He could just be the same person all day long. I mean, you're picking at this, but I wanted to say the Darkman look with the bandages is cool. I mean, in a Batman suit kind of way, it speaks to the vigilante that he is. And it's kind of a disappointment that they backed away. Of course they did. But in the last movie, they told us he was a good guy that has kind of lost his soul, and now he's definitely headed back into being like an old softy, right? He doesn't take delight in hurting people the way that Liam Neeson was by the end of the picture.
Right, which ruins the end of the relationship with the Frances McDormand Julia character, right? Like, that was him changing into something else so he couldn't be with her, but now he's changing into something softer, and there's just no mention of the woman he wanted to marry not that long ago.
Yeah, no.
I want to agree on all fronts. I think that Darkman is a great look with the bandages, the coat, the hat. It is very 1940s.
Phantom of the Opera is my vibe.
Phantom never had that big hat, though. But it is similar to Phantom. Not as cool a mask, but the bandages do work. I like the bandaged look, but I don't understand him as a superhero. Like, when I'm saying he's on a rooftop and hears a woman cry for help, is he going to help the woman who will be dead by the time he gets there? Or is he like, crime is afoot. There's money where there's crime. I'm going to go steal some money.
It would be more fun if it were the latter, but I think we're to think that he's noble. And again, I think that this is kind of a dumbed down, less interesting version of the character than what Raimi was chasing after in that last movie. And yeah, if Durant's goons weren't going for this warehouse, they would have probably figured out the skin problem and he could go on and be happy guy. But he's got to go back to square one because the goons, well, I don't know why they do this, but they make this extra point to have this guy Rolo go and approach the scientist, and when it doesn't work out, they drive him off the side of the building in a golf cart because he was skimming off the top. I don't know why you needed all of that subplot when maybe we just needed a kill by this point.
I appreciate them dropping a dummy off of a roof in a golf cart, and they only had one shot at it.
Maybe that's all we need to do, yes.
Yep.
We just need to see someone, a dummy, you're right, not someone, a dummy fall clearly and crash.
When I watched this in 1995 on my 30-inch screen on a VHS tape, I could not tell it was a dummy as clearly as I could watching it on the Blu-ray release on my home theater. Yes, it is a clear dummy. Here's my biggest problem with this. All right, I'm thinking this through. I've seen The Sopranos every episode. So Durant's been out of the picture for 3 years. He wakes back up. Why is everybody just like, he's the boss again? He's going to have to probably struggle for that position again. And this guy is trying to say, you've been out of it for a while. Why don't you just let us continue to handle it? So when he finds out that this guy is skimming, you want to make an example of him. And you want to show Durant as a bad guy who's willing to even kill his associates. So I get all of that. Him golfing off the top of the building is reminding me of like Superman 3, where you had the rich crook skiing on the top of buildings. But after all of that and running the guy off in the golf cart, I'm like, I'm still rolling with it. But then you got to give Durant a great final line. He has to have some pun or something. Always replace your divots is not good.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's where I really could feel it. Yeah, because the writing was sharper last time. He made you laugh. And again, his ruthlessness with sticking people's fingers in his cigar chopper. He doesn't have the menace and he doesn't have the lines. Again, this plan is stupid. So you want to create laser guns and then sell them to, he ends up dragging this Southern politician in, and we're going to give it to cops? Like, that's even far-fetched for 2025 to think we're going to have lawmen with nuclear-powered, plutonium-powered lasers.
I guess we're to believe that crime is so out of control that the cops could use these weapons to take care of the competition in the criminal world for Durant, and then they'll need more batteries, and they'll just wipe out the cops with their own weapons after that.
And I do remember there was a whole dialogue in the mid-90s about the super bullets, that the armor-piercing bullets, and that there was a concern that guns on the street, and there always is, but particularly there was a dialogue in Congress about gun control and whether what was out on the street was too powerful.
I don't know if this guy was a politician. He brings with him some goons, one of whom's wearing a Captain America shield on his shirt, like a licensed Marvel Comics shirt, which maybe was gotten because Marvel Comics was printing the Darkman comics at the time. I'm not sure, but he wants to clean up the streets. On Wiki, they call these guys white supremacists.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't tell, is this a politician who wants to be hard on crime, or is this a rich white Southerner who wants to be hard on minorities?
At one point, they're making a joke about the amendments in the Constitution, and they say he has the far right to bear arms. To me, that translated as he's a far right politician. And because his goons had shaved heads, they were skinheads. They were thus Nazis. They get called Nazis later. That made them Aryan.
They call them Nazis, but I could never tell if that just meant like fascist or does it mean like white supremacist?
Yeah, they don't have the look of American me, but I think that's what we're to think. It's Aryan Brotherhood getting lasers and maybe cops too. I don't know. It's very muddy. Again, I don't like Durant's plot. It's dumb. It makes me think less of him. And he was the one I was rooting for.
Unfortunately, Durant did not have a real purpose in the previous film because he was only the goon of a real estate mogul, and whatever other nefarious underworld dealings he was doing, we don't know. We only saw him killing and maiming to help his boss get property. So was he an arms dealer? Was he a drug dealer? Was he human trafficking? We don't know. So now he has no boss. He's his own boss. He needs a plot. So he's going to make laser guns. Listen, they're making a Darkman comic at Marvel. This is a comic booky plot. I can kind of roll with it in that regard. I'll just take it as this is what Electro is doing this week and Spider-Man has to stop him.
And nuclear proliferation was a big deal. We were worried now that the Soviet Union had collapsed that all of their nuclear materials were, there were other movies. GoldenEye dealt with it. Broken Arrow dealt with it. Here we have the idea that one of his men is an ex-KGB guy who could get little attachment batteries of plutonium that they now don't need to plug in those giant cables into the gun. It's going to be portable now because they can get Russian plutonium.
Yeah, they mentioned several Eastern Bloc countries because of that exact political situation you're talking about, Stuart. Like, they talk about Uzbekistan and a few others in that area where it's just like, at the time, it was, yeah, what's going to happen now that the bloc is broken up and there's nuclear weapons in these states that aren't necessarily being governed by anybody at this moment? But yeah, that was a real fear at the time. But to your point, Arnie, Durant's doing what he knows, right? He's going to go kill people over property disputes.
Yeah, but the property dispute for this is so he can make the guns, so he can have the white supremacist politician eliminate all crime so that then he can control drugs and prostitution and everything else.
Yeah.
Well, that's part B. It's a very convoluted plan for a guy who seems to already be rich, and I mean very rich. Like, the guy that he kills had skimmed 5%, which accumulated to $27 million. That's a hefty chunk of change in the mid-90s. I mean, if that's just all he skimmed, I can't imagine what his empire's worth.
It was a chunk of change in the 90s. I'd take that now if anyone, just has that change lying around.
Sure. You know what? But I knew it was over for me when we have the recreation of the break up the lab. So Durant still wants the warehouse, and he's going to go like he did in the first movie and rough up this really terrible actor, Brinkman, and burn his face and all that. They kill him by shoving dissection frogs down his throat.
Yeah.
Like last time it was a cool like bobbing bird thing, and we had like a nifty Rube Goldberg that was fun to watch set the air on fire, and this one he dies by choking on frogs? Jesus, that's too bad.
It is, and again, this time this guy really dies. I don't know that I want Darkman to have a boy wonder, but yet you could have gone that way with this.
I thought they were.
If, like, Peyton found him and he was hanging on to life and Peyton brought him back and now you need the skin too.
Not this guy. Totally flat actor. I don't know why they even cast him. I looked and, like, had he ever worked before or since? He was on some Rin Tin Tin show, and when you're second bill to a dog, you're just about unemployed. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of his work. I'm glad he's dead. Where they could have a supporting character, or at least a love story or something, is the fact that this guy has a sister, and now it's up to her to talk about what she's going to do with the electrical company property. She's already a successful, I don't think she's a stripper. I think she's the strip club owner. She's talking to the girls. They do the stripping, although nobody is particularly naked at this club.
No, I was watching this for the second time on an airplane flying home, and I get to the strip club scene, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching this on an airplane. And then I remember this is, I think, PG-13, and I'm like, oh wait, I don't have to worry about this. And the sister's talking to Peyton about how she wants out of this life. So I'm assuming if she wants out of a life, it's not the life of a club owner.
It's so strange because their father was framed as like the father of atomic energy, and she has to run a strip club. Like, I don't buy it. I'll just say it that way. Don't buy it.
I still think she is a stripper who needs to be rescued from the life of stripping.
She just dresses like she's got a board meeting in the afternoon for whatever reason.
I mean, you could read it many ways, but unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, as in I wanted to see her in the bra and panties that the other dancers were wearing, but unfortunately, nothing is clear about this character. She merely becomes the damsel in distress to rescue, but she's a really uninteresting character who has no real drive of her own. If Frances McDormand was mad about being the damsel in distress in the first film without much agency, she should be livid about what this poor actress has to deal with as the estranged sister of a dead scientist who is about to get $1 million. First of all, I want to say I think $1 million is a little cheap for that factory too.
Yes, totally. You should ask for more than that.
You could set it on fire and get more than $1 million.
Correct. Yes. That it has like unique electrical properties means you ask a lot more than this. But yes, I guess she's cheap and grateful, you know, because they're going under the guise of a reputable company, Intercity Land Development. She feels she can trust them. She mentions in a funeral scene that she's going to trust them and take their money. I guess it leaves us for Peyton/Darkman to try and get the goods on this Intercity Land Development Company. He goes back to Jill and has the reporter make that tie. She'll eventually air that Durant is alive, and she even gets a photo from somewhere.
And Durant's not too happy with it. He says not a very flattering photo, but she also cliffhangs her news report. She's like, and I'll be back tomorrow with more information. It's like, well, that's convenient to this plot, but that's not the way news stories work.
Actually, you'd be surprised. There was a Jerry Seinfeld Saturday Night Live sketch that reminded me very much of my local news of, what is this deadly item in your house? You might be using it right now. Tune in at 11.
Yes. No, I know. Yes. They don't want to give you too much. They want to keep you going. And yes, this is that kind of journalism.
Stuart, you didn't see the car bomb coming?
I should have. I really should have.
The way that they were hanging around, I'm like, oh, she's so blown up.
I know, but I just didn't think they'd kill Delaney. I thought that she was going to end up with Darkman. I had shipped them. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that they were going to have a romance, and I just thought the scene was pokey because this thing is dragging. This movie is dull. I mean, it takes like an hour. And I just want to point out, the fun of the last movie was making masks and impersonating others, and that doesn't get going until the last half hour.
Yeah, I paused when he did it the first time. We were 59 minutes and some seconds into this movie the first time Darkman pulls his signature trick.
Yeah, that's a real big mistake, particularly since we already know this dude. They should be doing it faster than last time, not slower.
Yeah, we should have opened with him doing that and confusing us as the viewer, like, it was Darkman the whole time.
Instead of that stupid grenade car chase thing, yes, you have him pull a mask trick. You notice that they can't have it bubble and fall off his face either. They keep saying it's going to melt, but we never actually see it melt.
We see it melt in the tray. They had that one effect.
Yes.
But never when it's practical.
Yes.
And I think we see like smoke coming off his face at one point too, I think, as he's racing out of a room.
Do we?
It might be dirt on the lens, I'll be honest. I thought so.
Yeah. But again, that to me was the real fun of it. It's such a disappointment. Way too little too late when we see him. Okay, so what's the plot? He knows that because his scientist friend had a missing finger, that Durant's probably alive, and then this reporter that gets blown up finds the photo that proves he's alive. So now he's going to impersonate a goon that's going to meet Durant at a boardroom, and he beats the guy up in a bathroom, goes into the boardroom, and I almost forgot about the whole rage thing. This actor, Vosloo, he really hasn't been playing it like that. Like, he's trying to be James Bond, not Bruce Banner. There's no rage in this guy.
You're right. They forgot about that trope too, and it shows up here.
Yeah, all of a sudden he's like, we have this moment where, and I wish it were real, but it's just a fantasy of him running across the boardroom table and tackling Durant. But no, if only this actor and this performance were that dynamic.
I agree, and I think it's a cheat. It's like they know we're bored, and so they're inserting an imagined action scene.
Yeah.
And I thought it was real, and I was kind of cool for that.
Yeah, no, it should have been done for real. Don't play with us. You could have done it. It would have been fun. But they want to do this other thing. They're trying to make Lori, the sister of the scientist, more important. She's come to sign away the property, and this is where it finally sinks in that she's looking at the man that killed her brother, and she won't sign.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I don't know, it's a really bizarre scene in which Darkman in the Eddie mask is trying to whisk her away to like hail down it. She could flag down her own taxi, but for some reason he's got to do it. He's like, no, let me get you out of here in the taxi. She's got this. You don't need to do this for her.
In such a way that the guys watching from upstairs know that he's being sus. Right?
Yes.
Like, get in the cab now.
Yeah, it's so dumb. And then again, I know they want to do it. They have glass revolving doors, but the real Eddie wakes up and they just don't have the special effects money to have that two shot of them looking at each other. They try to do this in this confusingly shot scene in the street where they're running alongside taxi, which Eddie is the real Eddie, and she picks the wrong one and gets grabbed. But what could have been a really fun scene that would have help bring this movie back just shows you that on this budget, Darkman ain't doing it.
No, and when she picks the wrong Eddie, I thought she was going to get killed. I mean, that's what they do to people who won't sell them their land. But no, she just becomes a hostage.
Yeah, strangely enough, they're going to use the laser on her. After they melt down a tanker truck, she's like the finale for demonstrating the power of these atomic laser guns. And by the way, we killed another goon because he crossed the streams or something on the battery and melted.
Forgot about that guy. The guy with the blonde hair goon. Yep.
Yeah. They're not killing these guys in the ways that I want Darkman to kill them.
And the goons are pretty indistinguishable here, which frustrates me, because the last one, at least they had a look each, even if they didn't all have lines. But Ted Raimi was clearly different from the bulky bald dude, was very different from the hair metal dude. And here, there's the Russian. That's all I can tell you is one of them is the Russian.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as good as last time, but they're distinguishable. You had the Russian, you had the blonde guy with receding hair, you had the smaller guy who thinks he's cute, and then you had the taller doofy guy. Those two guys are kind of interchangeable, but yeah, definitely not as popping of personalities as the original.
No. And Ivan is the next one that's going to get a mask switcheroo. He's asked to go get the boss's car. It's been refitted with bulletproof glass and things to protect Durant when he's driving around. I don't know if he's not supposed to be known to be alive why he's driving around in a car that has his initials as the license plate, but RGD, there he is. Who could guess? Anyway, the point is that when he goes to get the mechanic under the car, it's Peyton wearing his face, and now he's the one driving back and trying to give the boss poison pills.
And Peyton, for some reason, I don't know his morals, like we've seen him kill before, but for every reason, he's just not willing to kill these henchmen. He leaves them incapacitated, and every time he does that, they show up to foil his plan.
Yeah.
And this one
Yes.
really blows up in his face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he should have killed that Russian, for sure. Why take the risk of him doing exactly what he's going to do, which is interrupt the moment and say, hey, you wear my face. Now Darkman is a captive and also going to be zapped with the laser.
And it should be said, he doesn't have a plan to get out of this.
Yeah, I don't quite understand this moment, but Perkins, the senator neo-Nazi guy, is just all of a sudden trying to leave with the plutonium stuff. He brought the money. I don't know why he couldn't, but it suddenly turns into a shootout with skinheads and the doctor.
Right before they were about to shoot the two of them with the laser, some sort of distraction happens real quick.
What happens is Durant calls Darkman a freak, and Darkman gets a rage on again. And we get one of the montages again, like we had in the boardroom. And so when Eddie comes to cut off his finger, Peyton fights back.
Well, yeah, but that has nothing to do with the senator causing the gunfire.
The senator's right there during this.
But why is he suddenly betraying the men that he brought $100 million in cash to?
He's just trying to get out of this situation. It's chaos at this point.
Okay, all right, yes.
There is a fight between the scientist and the white supremacist politician because the scientist is a liberal and the politician's a conservative, and they're screaming insults at each other for their political beliefs as they're shooting at each other.
I mean, he's rightfully calling them commie because they are taking Russian plutonium, and the response is Nazi. So, again, I don't get the Doc Brown, Hannibal Lecter guy. I don't know why he unravels the deal. But in the end, it leaves only a few goons left, and Darkman does a few more, put on the mask, and I think he does kill Eddie. I think Eddie does fall to his death, and maybe the other one's dead too.
Is Eddie the Russian?
No, that's Ivan. And boy, when they fight each other in the dark, it's turned down so low, all you can see is the long hair.
Yeah.
It'll be for Durant to figure out which one to shoot.
Right. It's me. No, it's me. Always something that you see in Daffy Duck cartoons, and here we are in a directed videotape movie pulling this trope.
But I liked the punchline because he's like, well, the real one has a fake knee. And I thought he was going to ask for a surgery scar or something. No, I'm going to blow one up. Oh, look, there's the fake knee. I blew up the wrong one. I thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, Durant was finally being Durant. Because I was like, why didn't he just kill both of them? What allegiance does he have to Ivan? But he doesn't care that he's melted the wrong one and laughs that, yeah, there's the replacement knee in the rubble. He also gets a good line here where I think this is where he takes Lori hostage. And he's like, stay where you are or you'll be wearing her last thought. I thought that was a line worthy of Durant in the last movie.
Yeah, I can go with that. I didn't notice that specific line, but it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, for this movie, it's genius. Yes, he's trying to get away in the getaway car. And we had this weird scene earlier where Peyton had a remote control rat.
Yeah.
He was using to torment the stray cats. He has this cantankerous relationship with the stray cats wherever he's living. They're always hissing at him in disapproval. And so he built this giant rat to like scare them with. And now he's put that technology in the car so that Durant can't drive away, but is at his beck and call. And the rat has a bomb in it and pops out of the glove box.
It's wacky. I went with it. It was kind of amusing in the most simple of ways.
Right, but I'm sitting here thinking, first time we killed this guy, we slammed a helicopter into the side of a bridge. Like, for real. That was a stunt that they actually crashed a helicopter into a cement wall. Here we've got somebody, a stunt driver, in a limousine backing up and driving forward, backing up and driving forward, and then an explosion on the inside. It's not the same thing.
No.
Definitely not. It's silly. And again, I really wanted, this is the sorrow of this, is like, I really wanted Durant to be enough. I really needed to believe that his return was going to be enough for a good, B movie. I knew it wasn't going to be a great movie. I knew it wasn't even going to be as good as the last one. But I thought that if Larry Drake could have really, killed it here, to be killed by a remote control rat in this way, just... oof, good riddance. I'm glad he's gone. Whatever the third movie is, it'll be better without Larry Drake.
So Justin Stewart, do you recommend Darkman 2, The Return of Durant? Justin.
I can't say I was expecting much of anything from this movie, and I'm happy to report that I didn't get much of anything from this movie, but there's room for disappointment here, right? Like when you're doing a sequel and the original creatives are gone and you're just kind of playing around with the property, that's your chance to take some liberties. You can iterate on the character. You can come up with some creative ways to make this character your own. You have this Darkman, and all we really know about him is that he's a scientist and he's trying to perfect skin, and they bring that back. But they don't do anything to advance even that, right? Like, he's still just stuck 3 years later on this 99-minute skin. Would have been neat if he somehow improved on that somewhat and gave him a different problem to have to deal with. Maybe he can't get wet, and if water gets on him, it melts him or something. It's just anything to put your own stamp of creativity on this. And they didn't take any chances to do that. They didn't do it with our main character. They didn't do it with our main villain, who is our only returning actor. So it just leaves me wondering, why are we here? I enjoyed the first one enough as a standalone thing, and I enjoyed what Sam Raimi did and how he put his touches on it and gave us some cool camera tricks and some cool style, and ultimately that one came out being more corny, and it was better for it. This one is just low budget without any style and no reason to be here. Arnie, at the top, you were talking about all these things they've tried to do with this property, and I don't understand why. Like, the first movie and that first character wasn't so gripping that it was like, oh, yes, we have to continue on with this guy without a face who speaks perfectly, even though he doesn't have lips to make a buh sound, but he's perfectly fine doing it, even though his teeth are flapping in the wind the whole time. I don't know what I expected from this movie, but it didn't even deliver on the lowest expectations I brought in with this. I shudder to think what we're walking into with a part 3 with this huge of a drop off from 1 to 2, but this isn't even a fun late night laugh at it bad movie. This is just a bad movie, so not recommend.
Stewart.
Yeah, I framed the success of Darkman, the original, last week, as being the celebration of Sam Raimi. What he and his cinematographer, Bill Pope, brought to superhero movies, which before then had been kind of slow. If you think about Richard Donner's Superman or even Tim Burton's Batman, they're very brooding and slow and majestic. And Raimi said, no, superhero movies should be zippy. They should be fun. We should have lots of MTV cutting, and it will bring lots of energy. And with Sam Raimi gone, there's just almost nothing left to like. Because, it wasn't the performances, and it definitely wasn't Durant, but I was hoping that his return would at least keep this project afloat. That they give him this terrible storyline about come out of a coma and develop a laser with Hannibal Lecter. Just the worst stuff. Just beneath Larry Drake, and that's saying a lot. I will say I'm ambivalent towards Vosloo. That he's coming back to be the Darkman next week is fine. I don't think that he's any better or worse than Neeson. He's a little bit more melodramatic. Like I said, he's not really playing the rage the way that sometimes the script will ask him, or at least the character, to be. He's much more suave and debonair. I'm okay with him, but I'm not okay with this movie. And I'm not even sure if I got Sam Raimi directing this movie on this budget, whether that would save it either. I know there would be some more cool shots, but in the end, there's not much purpose to Darkman 2. And once you unmask it, it's a pretty weak sauce crime fighter. You know, he can't make it 99 minutes without melting, and I don't want to sit through 99 minutes of something like this.
Well, we started at the top talking about the status of direct-to-video 90s and 2000 movies, and at Now Playing Podcast, we've waded through them. Most horror, I mean, all the Children of the Corns, there was a Reanimator, the Leprechauns, Return of the Living Dead, Lost Boys, Mangler, Silent Night, Deadly Night, and let's not forget, oh, so many Hellraisers.
Oh, good. I was like, don't forget the Hellraisers.
And there are some action films in there too. Death Race, Dungeons and Dragons, Deep Blue Sea, Tremors.
Oh, yeah. Tremors had a few winners, though.
Yeah. In the sea of shit, a few turds rise above. A couple of the Tremors. Curse of Chucky was better than it had any right to be.
Oh, yeah. There's a good one. Yep.
Leprechaun in the Hood is the only Leprechaun film that needs to exist.
True.
And floating just beneath those, I think, comes this Darkman movie. I'll start with the positives. It looks better than most of the direct-to-video films we've covered, and I think that's probably because this was actually shot on film and not video. And effects were still 100% practical in 1995 on this budget. There was no bad CGI. It doesn't have the glossy sheen of so much of that made-for sci-fi Drek digital video stuff. And our director here is also our cinematographer, and I truthfully believe he paid more attention to the film than what was happening in the frame. Of course, this doesn't hold a flaming finger to how good Sam Raimi and Bill Pope made that first movie look. But this looks okay. Especially given the budget, some of the sets, like the new Dark Lair, do not look so bad. They also paid Elfman so they could use his amazing score again, which is a really valuable thing. I mean, look at those later Hellraiser films. They would have been better, if not good, if they'd thrown some Christopher Young in there, but they wouldn't spend that money. Unfortunately, that's where the quality stops here. The outdoors scenes look small and lack scope, and every single actor in this film is bad. Even Larry Drake, who was so much fun last time. You said you're ambivalent towards Vosloo, Stewart. My problem is ambivalence is such a step down from the love I have for Darkman in the first one that I feel like he is overdoing it here. I also feel like huge mistakes were made because when they unmask Vosloo in the end, they pull off the Russian's mask. They have Vosloo's mask underneath. We don't have Darkman at the ending. We have Vosloo at the end. They felt like it was so important to show us this actor's face at the climax that we don't even get that cool Darkman bandage look. So is the problem here the actors they could afford, or is the problem here the script gave the actors only the most basic of character arcs and lines? And yeah, clearly this movie can't afford much in the way of action. The fights, the chases, all subpar. You know, at one point in this movie, one of the various indistinguishable goons says aloud what I kept thinking the whole movie. Well, this is what you would definitely call low rent. But all of this would be marginally passable, though. It would float up there maybe with Lost Boys 2 if the movie could keep me engaged. But it can't do that. They hired a director who was a cinematographer. Maybe they needed to hire a director who was an editor, because every action scene is cut too loose. It's not exciting. Every dialogue scene goes on way too long. There's redundancy. I'm just like, we get the point. Get on with it. So yes, Darkman 2 is floating near the top of a river of direct-to-video shit, but it still stinks, and it's a weak not recommend.
Yeah, it's not the worst. I mean, if we're thinking of it in terms of a series of direct-to-video, I have less contempt for it than some of them. But it just feels like a lot of those junky, all those 90s comic book movies, The Punisher, Captain America, all that stuff. You know, the genre was not well-baked yet. It took Marvel and DC to really build the genre in the next millennium. The 90s... You know, you get what you get. We got one more Darkman to go. I don't know anything about it other than, yes, it was shot at the same time with largely the same cast and crew, so I imagine its difference will be minor.
I remember thinking 2 was the worst. I remember thinking 3 was a step up the only time I watched it in 1996.
Okay.
And I remember being happy that Lawnmower Man Jeff Fahey was the bad guy.
All right. New bad guy.
Okay, Jeff Fahey. That's about what he should be doing 5 years after Lawnmower Man. Yeah. Die, Darkman, Die, I think it's called. We'll definitely watch him do that next week. In the meantime, we are finally, on Friday, getting to the first movie I saw when I got out of the hospital. I know the first show I was on was Superman, but the movie of last summer that I most wanted to see was 28 Years Later. And we've been sitting on that one until we could talk about its sequel out this weekend. This Friday, we talk about Danny Boyle coming back to his zombie rage virus. And yeah, talking all about that Friday.
Yes, that is available for those of you who donated at the Rage level or higher for our Winter-Spring 2026 donation drive, or if you're a Platinum level pledge on Patreon or Podbean. So thank you for your support. You can find links to donate at nowplayingpodcast.com/donate. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. Justin Stewart, thank you for joining me. And now it's time for us to disappear like a nightmare before the breaking day.
Vengeance has many casualties, the guilty and the innocent. My salvation was buried with those who would rescue me from revenge. And so I continue to face the darkness, alone.
Thank you for listening to this Now Playing Podcast movie review.
Suppose this is goodbye then.
We hope you enjoyed the show.
Nothing lasts forever, Pizza Face.
Help us spread the word about this show by leaving a 5-star review on Stitcher, Podbean, iTunes, or your podcast store of choice.
System ready to receive input.
Want more reviews like this one? In the archives section of NowPlayingPodcast.com, you'll find more than 1,000 in-depth movie reviews from our panel of hosts.
I guarantee they'll make you happy.
On our site, you can hear reviews for every installment in the world's biggest film franchises, including the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Spider-Man, Batman, X-Men, James Bond, Middle-earth, Jurassic Park, Fast and Furious, Star Wars, and Transformers.
We got a surprise for these gentlemen.
And come back to NowPlayingPodcast.com next Tuesday for another all-new movie review podcast.
What is it about the dark? What secret does it hold?
Support from listeners like you keeps Now Playing Podcast on the air.
Consider the big picture. Consider what we're building here.
You can donate directly by tapping the support button at NowPlayingPodcast.com.
I would have tried to help you. I can help you now.
And you can join our crowdfunding campaign for early access to new episodes, exclusive reviews, and bonus reviews available for a one-time contribution.
Life in the city isn't cheap. Death is.
Need more Now Playing? Subscribe to our In Focus weekly newsletter for exclusive digital download giveaways, celebrity interviews, behind-the-scenes insights, and more. Sign up through the subscribe page on our website and get it delivered to your inbox every Friday.
Now, the pink elephant, if you please.
You can also compare notes with us on Letterboxd. Go to letterboxd.com/nowplaying to see what our hosts are watching when we're not recording podcasts.
Whose little boy are you?
And follow Now Playing on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our YouTube channel.
That would be just fine. That would be just fine. That would be just fine. That would be
Just fine.
Now Playing Podcast is produced by Arnie Carvalho.
Look! Look about you! It's all mine! Because I built it! I built it all!
Associate produced by Jason Latham.
So good of you to favor me with your venerated presence.
Now Playing is edited by Heath, Andrew, Santiago, and Arnie.
10 years ago, pain would have been intolerable. This man would have spent the rest of his life screaming. Naturally, we give them every chance of recovery. Remain optimistic, inspire confidence. Personally, I give him a 9 on the Buzzard scale.
Now Playing credits read by Brock.
You hear something?
Yeah. Your mouth.
The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual hosts and may not reflect the views of Venganza Media Incorporated.
I told you everything!
I know you did.
But let's pretend you didn't.
Venganza Media Incorporated is not affiliated with, and this podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by any entity that created the film analyzed herein.
I'm not going to jail for anyone, Nico.
All movie clips and music included in this podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders. They are included here for the purpose of review, and no infringement is intended.
You want to make a point, you want to make it stick, you use your fists.
Now Playing Podcast is an exclusive trademark of and may not be used without the express written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated.
If you're not going to kill me, I have things to do.
Now Playing is a Venganza Media production, copyright 2026, and no part of this show may be reproduced, repurposed, or redistributed without the written permission of Venganza Media Incorporated. All rights reserved.
Oh God, what have I become? What have I become?
Larry Drake as Benny and Darkman, like...
That's Durant.
Oh, yeah.
Not as Benny. That would be very weird. The LA crossover. No, I don't think that would work very well at all.
Quite the career leap there.
Mm-hmm. If you want to watch a TV movie about the Long Island Lolita, Amy Fisher, he made it.
When my godfather died, I found a videotape of that movie in his stash of videos. I do not know why. It creeps me out to this day.
I mean, people can buy weird things. In the grocery store, there'd be movies available for $2 or $3.
No, he taped it.
Oh. Okay. All right, Granddad. You're weird.